Today's guest promises to be nothing short of inspiring and enlightening. She is not only an acclaimed author, but also a freelance journalist, making waves with her storytelling and journalistic talents. Her writing has been featured in publications such as Oprah Daily, The Washington Post, Teen Vogue, and USA Today, to name a few. This author's journey as a storyteller isn't just about awards and accolades. It's deeply rooted in her passion for sharing the stories of marginalized communities, drawing from her own experiences as an Arab. Her book, the critically acclaimed The Arabic Quilt, An Immigrant Story, is a poignant tale exploring the challenges and triumphs of an Egyptian girl's immigration journey to the United States, touching upon themes of identity, belonging, and the power of language. Her commitment to uplifting the narratives of Muslims, Arabs, and Egyptians is a testament to her dedication to fostering understanding and empathy through literature. So without further ado, let us welcome to Unban Coolies, the incredible author, journalist, and advocate for inclusive storytelling, Aya Khalil.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, and thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Can you recall a specific book from your childhood that ignited your love for reading and writing? Were there any authors or stories that served as an early inspiration for your career as a writer?
Yeah, so growing up, I loved to read, especially when my parents, they would take us to Egypt every single summer. So I remember we would just pack our suitcases with a bunch of books. But some books I liked were I was really into the Harry Potter series when I was in middle school and high school, so I loved those. And then when I was a little bit younger, I really loved like some classics like The Secret Garden and things like that. And then when I was a little bit younger, I liked chapter books like Amelia Bedelia. Those were always so fun, and I used to read them with my mom, and I had a blast reading them.
Your journey from Egypt to the United States has been both inspiring and challenging. Could you share some of the key movements or experiences that shape your perspective on identity, belonging, and cultural diversity, ultimately influencing your writing?
Yeah, so again, so my parents used to take me and my siblings to Egypt every summer growing up. And they just wanted us to really experience the language and to reconnect with our like grandparents and aunts and our uncles. One big thing was the food, obviously. So I always like to incorporate that into my books, and especially also the language. I love to incorporate Arabic, and I try to do it in all of my books. So I mean, it's called the Arabic Quilt. So obviously, it's about the language Arabic. So I just love that now, especially because just in general, like Arabic is so like kind of like an unpopular language according to many people, which is really sad because it's a beautiful language. It's very poetic, and so I always like to include a little bit of those into my books.
Arabic Quilt, An Immigrant Story is a beautiful reflection of your personal experiences as an Egyptian immigrant. What prompted you to transform these experiences to a picture book?
Yeah, so this is kind of like loosely based on me, I guess, growing up as an Egyptian American. It's about a girl trying to fit in. She's from Egypt. She's a little bit embarrassed of her culture, of her food, of her name, of her language. And that's a lot of people like me when we were growing up. As I immigrated when I was one, so I was really young. But it's a lot. It's very relatable, I think, to a lot of people. So, and then I had a teacher who, the one in the book, her name is Mrs. Hagen. So I had a teacher like this actually when I was in third grade who created a similar lesson with the Arabic name quilts. And I just remember how I felt so seen. I was so excited for her to acknowledge my language and my culture. And so it's really based on that. So it's really amazing because, again, it comes to show you that, like decades afterwards, like students remember those actions. And I was able to reconnect with my teacher actually after I published this book, and I sent her a copy. So that was really special.
What's it like in Egypt? Is it hot there?
It's hot. So I have a book that's actually called Our World Egypt, and it's a board book. And it's just like a typical day in the life of a dad, it's an Egyptian dad and his daughter. But I don't show like the typical things that are really shown, I guess, when you think of Egypt, you know, like pyramids, obviously, and like deserts and stuff. So this is more of like in the day of, but like a typical street, for example, like the modes of transportation, and you have like a lot of truck. I guess they're more like carts, food carts like this. This has like food called fool and tamaya.
Oh yeah,
And
they have those in New York City, I know.
yeah, just like that. And then fruit trucks too. These are really popular in Egypt. So things like that. It's a very diverse, obviously, city, and I love this one too because there are a lot of beachy areas too. This is in Alexandria, so it's hot and humid.
Your story highlights the significance of educators who create inclusive and welcoming environments. Can you share more about the teacher who inspired the project in your book and the impact of teachers in your life as an immigrant child?
Kenzie is a little bit, again, she's a little bit ashamed, kind of embarrassed of her language. And this is the quilt that the teacher comes up. She had that idea, but again, she had Kenzie and the mom help out too. So that's really important to have, obviously, like the kids involved. And so all of these names are written in Arabic. These are my handwriting. Actually, and the illustrator transferred it. So the teacher that I had, she did a very similar activity like that. And I remember I sat home with my mom. We wrote the names in Arabic, and I passed it out to my classmates the next day. And I just remember the kids were so excited to see their names in Arabic. And then I felt excited too, because I was like, wow, people actually now they might know what Arabic is. And I lived in a very small town it's called Minot, North Dakota. So me and my brother were the only Muslims in the whole school. So just to have that activity there, it was a big thing for somebody like me and other immigrants or children of immigrants.
The theme of cultural identity and embracing one's heritage is central to your book. How do you hope your work, including the Arabic quilt, contributes to the broader conversation about diversity and inclusion in literature?
So again, I always want kids who speak Arabic or whose parents speak Arabic to just always know that the language, it's a beautiful language, you know, it's part of America, right? You can speak different languages, obviously, and be American. That's just such a big thing. And I want kids to know that too when they're reading this book, whether they are Arab or Arabic speakers, or if they're not, if they don't speak Arabic and they're just a regular student in the classroom, to know that Arabic is included. Arabs are part of society. So I always try to include those in my books, just the Arabic words. So important to have those, I think. And like the food, and those are all great things because you're trying to normalize it in the end. You don't want people to be like, oh, what is that? That's gross. Or like, what is that? What are you speaking? Like things like that. I just want it to be normalized in everyday life. And that's so important to have.
On your website, you mentioned the importance of immigrants sharing their stories. How do you believe literature can bridge gaps in understanding and foster empathy, especially in today's world where immigration and diversity are often polarizing topics?
Yeah, so one thing is obviously it makes immigrant children feel included. Sorry. They can't be the own heroes of our stories. It just doesn't have to be one person who's always the hero of the story or the one person who's always the main character of the story, which we have seen personally for me, my whole life growing up. It was mostly white characters. And so I was like, oh, maybe, you know, Arabs can't be heroes. They can't be the good guys. So that's why I really tried to set, you know, this thinking that, no, we are the heroes and we are here and we are writing our stories.
Yeah, pushing a more positive narrative to them.
Absolutely. The positive representation is just key because there is representation, but it's not always positive. So that's why I really wanted to do that.
Your dedication to preserving the authenticity of names and identities is evident in both your articles and books. Can you elaborate on the significance of names as part of one's identity and the message you aim to convey through your characters' names?
Yeah, so I really do, when I'm writing my characters, I try to think of like names with meanings. It's not just any random name. So for example, like Kenzie, it seems like a kind of a normal name, but it actually means it comes from the word treasure. And I want people who know that, obviously, or who don't know that, or do like research about her name, to know like, hey, like she is a treasure, right? And so things like that, I think it's so important to include in. It's okay to include like hard to pronounce names. It's not always like, oh, I just want to put like an easy Arabic name. It's okay to go out of the norm and choose like a difficult Arabic name, because that's how we learn. Because then when people actually see somebody who is named Khalid, for example, they'll be like, oh, I read that name in the book and I know how to say it. I've listened to the author, or I listened to the author speak, or on a video. So I wanted to really normalize the names.
The political landscape has posed challenges for immigrants and refugees. How do you see your role as an author in countering negative narratives and creating space for an authentic immigrant stories to be heard and appreciated, especially in the context of policies like the Muslim ban?
Yeah, so that's a great story. So again, like Arabs are so underrepresented in literature. And then Arabs can be both Muslim and not Muslim. So there's a big, for example, Christian population. So there is, like, Muslims are very underrepresented, and then Arabs are even more underrepresented in literature. So that's why it pushes me to just write more. It's just so important for the kids to see themselves on the bookshelves. And in mainstream, it's so important in mainstream bookstores and libraries. And last year, the night before Eid, and Target bookstore, it was displayed in Target bookstores, and that's a huge deal because it's so mainstream. Like when I was young, I could have never imagined just walking into a Target store and finding a book with, first of all, like the title of Eid, because that's like a major holiday, and then having the Muslim and Arab character. So it's so crucial for kids to see themselves on the bookshelves.
In closing, I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to Aya Khalil for joining us today and sharing her journey, insights, and dedication to amplifying authentic immigrant stories. Aya's work as an award-winning author and journalist serves as a beacon of hope, breaking down barriers and fostering empathy in a world often fraught with challenges for immigrants and refugees. Aya's words and stories inspire us to see the beauty in our differences and the strength in our shared humanity. We encourage all our viewers to explore Aya's works, including the Arabic Quilt, an immigrant story, and to continue supporting and amplifying the voices of immigrant authors and storytellers. Together, we can create a world where every story is heard, every name is represented, and every journey is celebrated. Thank you. Aya Khalil.
Thank you so much for having me. This was such a great interview, and I loved all of your questions. Thank you so much, Christopher.
Thank you so much. You were really great today.
Thank you.
Have a good day.